Welcome to this edition of Barometer. I'm your host, Trish Wake, and on the show we have Dylan Bartlett. He's from Progressive Results Group out of Hanover, Kincardine, and Saugeen Shores. Hi, Dylan. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
So, Dylan, what brings you this way?
I don't know. I mean, I guess an invite is the first thing that brought me this way. But I don't know. I got a lot of exciting stuff going on that I thought maybe we could talk about. One of them being a book that I have coming out on April 1st. But yeah, I thought we'd just talk business and life and kind of see where that takes us.
Excellent. So just a little background. Dylan is a business and marketing expert, so he proclaims. So let's talk a little bit about that and your history. Where does that come from?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess like early in my career, I jumped around and did a lot of different things. It's hard. I think it's hard as a young person to figure out exactly what you want to do in your life and your career. So a big turning point for me was just kind of identifying what my strengths are. So it became pretty obvious to me maybe about a decade ago that I was good in conversation and I had a lot of ideas, and I started trying to figure out how I would translate that into some kind of career, and that's kind of how it started, I guess, is that I started doing a lot of like idea-based consulting work where I would just, people would just ask me, pick my brain about things, ways that they could market their business and how they might kind of grow their business in a variety of different ways. And that just kind of translated into kind of starting my own business.
So was your official schooling, was that in marketing and advertising?
No, not at all, actually. I went to school for occupational health and safety. Ew.
That sounds exciting.
It was not exciting. And no disrespect to those people. I mean, good for you. I got into it for the right reasons, I think. When I was a kid, one of the very first jobs I got was driving a forklift. And there were just a lot of people that seemed like they were doing a lot of like dangerous stuff around me. And I think at that point in time, I thought maybe I was going to try to like save the world or something and like try to solve this health and safety issues that were out there. It got boring for me in a hurry, if I'm being honest. And I realized there's just a lot of politics and a lot of red tape and a lot of hoops you have to jump through to make any kind of progress in that world. So when I started, that's what I was trying to do. But again, over the course of time, it kind of just progressed into me kind of, being full of ideas and having a lot of excitement, and that kind of turned into more of a marketing thing. So ironically, I didn't actually go to school for this at all. I just identified it as something that I was good at. Yeah.
So I was just thinking while you were saying that, I wanted to save the world. I'm like thinking, wow, we need to get Sherry to design you a logo that's like super Dylan.
Yeah, totally. I would love that. Yeah, I would love that.
Just going to let our listeners know he's not wearing a cape.
I am not right now. But if you open my laptop, you would find that my screensaver is like an old timey drawing of like the original version of Superman. So there is a tie-in there for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's in you, right?
It is, yeah.
So that's part of your entrepreneurial spirit then.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're always trying to do good. We're always trying to give back. And a big part of me wanting to work for myself was I felt like there was an opportunity to, as the business grew, to support as many things as we could and do as much kind of community work as we could. So that's kind of always been something that we did. Like we give a discount on our services to every nonprofit group who comes to us, regardless of what the project is. And we were giving discounts when we didn't even have any money in the beginning, but it was something that we really felt like was going to be like the foundation of what our company culture was about. And like in 2017, we discounted almost $60,000 back to local nonprofit groups. So, that number continues to grow year over year. Yeah, last year alone, we actually almost doubled that number of discounts given. So, yeah, I mean, it's just it feels good to give back, and I feel like if I'm not going to be in business for any reason other than just trying to do as much good as we can, I feel like that's probably a pretty good start.
So let's give our listeners a little bit of a history about you. Yeah, you talked about, your previous work experience, but let's talk about like family life and what brings you to this area, because you weren't from this area, like even Kincardine way. That wasn't your...
No, not at all. Yeah, I grew up in the GTA, so I grew up in Brampton. I had a pretty fun childhood there, and my family's actually originally from Newfoundland, so they made a much larger journey to Brampton, Mississauga area than I did to come up this way, but. Just nothing has been traditional in my entire life. I had kids really young. I got married really young. I think I mentioned to you before, like I probably would have started my own business a decade earlier, had my life not go the way that it went. And I probably would have failed, and, I probably wasn't ready to do that. But everything has just kind of been backwards and upside down and different for me, over the course of time. So yeah, we moved to Kincardine probably 13 or 14 years ago. I'm not sure if I'm a local yet or not. I'm not really sure how that works. Every small town has a different equation. So I've probably been to like 60 or 70 small towns in Ontario. And I think the criteria for being a local is different in every one of those towns. But yeah, so we literally moved to Kincardine sight unseen. We had driven through it one time and never got out of the car. And we just thought, yeah, we really, really like this place. My in-laws live in Port Elgin. And we actually moved to Kincardine because we thought it was close enough to my in-laws that we could see them, but not so close that they would pop in on us all the time. When it's a 30-minute drive, it's a call first for sure. You're not just making that drive without knowing that we're home. So we felt like there was a bit of a safety zone there. It ended up backfiring because my parents retired and moved like a block from me. So, so you can only do what you can do. You can't control everyone. But yeah, so that's kind of how we came to be in this area. And then yeah, I've worked in radio and I've worked in print, and there's pros and cons to knowing so much about so many different industries when it comes to marketing, and that's kind of how the marketing company came to be. Like I said, it was kind of just a natural progression for me from just taking meetings that I was already having and just making them a little bit more exciting and sharing a little bit more of like my thoughts and my ideas and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a long road to get to that place, but when I got to that place, it felt like a pretty natural progression for me.
So I think we talked about the fact that you came, like sales seems to be a highlight of yours. You were really good at it. You could sell snow to an Eskimo.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think at the core of it, like sales, when you believe in a product that you're selling, when you really know that what you're selling is going to benefit the end user, it's just a good conversation, Like, so for me, it was less about like kind of like closing the deal or whatever kind of cliche exists. And it was more about just, look, we have a product that's is a really good fit for like almost every small business owner, And once I started having those conversations, it became really obvious to me that there was the right fit for a lot of people. We still have customers today that we had in 2010, and like that's hard to do, things have evolved and grown. Certainly the internet has changed. And in the beginning, we were primarily exclusively an internet-based company, right? I mean, we sold online services like social media management and website design. So, that's changed a lot. And we've been fortunate enough to have a really great group of people who have evolved with the times. And that's certainly made my life a lot easier because to be honest with you, like I'm not the most like tech savvy person in the world, like I'm just good at talking. That's it. That's my skill set. Yeah.
Excellent. So you can take over this show right now.
Yeah. I'm not fixing your computer and I'm not fixing your toilet or anything. Yeah.
So our area has a lot of family-run, family-oriented businesses, such as yourself. Let's talk about some of the trials and tribulations behind having a family-run business, because you and your brother work together, right?
We do.
Let's start with the kitchen table.
Yeah, the kitchen table. Yeah. So you know what? My brother's going to love this when he hears this, but him and I, politely put, we really didn't always get along. I think as kids growing up, there's like a 4-year difference between the two of us. We had very different like friend group. There's very few like social settings where there was an overlap. So growing up, like we just weren't that close, And then I would say as we got older, we actually really started to like argue and kind of disagree about stuff like siblings do, nothing crazy. But as we got a little bit older, we both matured a lot. Like I said, I don't think that this really would have worked well if I had done it sooner. I think I was ready when this whole thing kind of started to happen. But a big turning point for us from a company point of view was probably around like 2012. My brother is a web designer, and he was just like kind of working at a drugstore or something, and he couldn't really find a position in his field. At the time, I was really struggling because I was accidentally selling people a lot of services, and I didn't really have any way of actually doing them. Like I can't build a website. I've been pretty open about that, So I had a few different people that I would kind of outsource things to, which is funny because that's something that we've completely gotten away from as a company. But at the time, I was just doing whatever I could do to kind of keep things growing. Yeah, and we had a few beers at my parents' house over Thanksgiving, sitting around the Thanksgiving table in my parents' kitchen. And we just kind of came up with this idea that maybe it would be fun that we would kind of work together, and I would sell websites and social media, and he would build websites and social media. And that's really that was kind of like where the current company, the way it exists and what our kind of goals are. That's really kind of where we hatched that that plan. But everybody thought we were absolutely insane, you know, because everyone thought we were going to fight like a weekend and the whole thing was going to blow up in our faces. And knock on wood, you know, we don't agree all the time, but he's completely different than I am, which I think is why it works so well. Yeah, we're completely different people. So when I want to like smash the gas and go full tilt at something, he's more likely to kind of pump the brakes and tell me why we should maybe slow down a little, which I need in my life. Yeah.
So he's the voice of reason.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm pumping his tires now, so I hope he's not going to listen to this and think, you know, that I'm his biggest fan or something like that. But yeah, he's been great. He's been a really great way to kind of offset, you know, just how kind of wild I get. So
then from that kitchen table conversation, you grew.
Yes. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, at first, we just had this really cool office in downtown Kincardine, and it had like high ceilings and nice like crown molding and like 8-foot windows, and it was just the two of us, and we actually had a lot of laughs, and we ran a really, really good business from there. And in a lot of ways, I kind of miss that, you know, because it was such a fun period in both of our lives where for that, you know, those couple of years, we just had a blast. But we both kind of wanted to get kind of silly and stupid with it and try to figure out like how big could we make this be? Wouldn't it be nice if we could hire some more people to help us out with a few things that we weren't that good at? Yeah, so you know, we just kind of went from there. So we, I think in 2014, we bought 2 local businesses in Kincardine, a print shop and like a promotional company. And then we got significantly larger office space, probably 10 times the size. And we moved all 3 businesses into the building we're in now in Kincardine in 2014, I think. And yeah, ever since then, yeah, it's just been rapid growth. You know, we hired our first graphic designer named Alex in 2014, that very same year. And now we have over 10 employees and 3 offices and counting.
When we spoke just a few days ago, you know, we talked about the stress and the sleepless nights, and how do you get through those?
Yeah. Every time I tell the kitchen table story, you know, it's a lot of laughs, and it sounds like it was kind of like, you know, fun, but the reality is like it was pretty daunting, you know, like to start something from scratch. We both come from nothing. We really didn't have any head start. We used every job we sold, we used that to fund the company again. You know, we just kept making money and putting money back into the company in an effort to grow it. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's stressful. Owning a small business is stressful. And I think that part of the reason why what we do resonates so well with other small business owners is because we get it. Like, you know, like we're small business owners too. I think when you're a small business owner, you maybe don't want to do business with an enormous corporation that doesn't understand what your journey has been. But you also don't want to do business with someone who's kind of a hobbyist, you know, who's kind of part-time, half doing something. You know, you want somebody who's all in, but kind of gets what you're doing. And with that comes a significant amount of stress. It's a very unique group of people, you know. You have to be a little bit nuts to be in the business of your own. You know, I think you have to have that in you, that, you know, it's, you have to be uncomfortable or comfortable being uncomfortable, I guess is probably the best way to solve it. But for me, I try to learn new things. I don't sleep very well. I'm historically not a very good sleeper. So after I get what little sleep I get, I try to just learn new things. I think I mentioned before, like I'm learning the ukulele right now. And, you know, I kickbox, I do jujitsu. Like I just try to stay active and try to stay as sharp as I can, and just fit things in whenever my schedule allows. Like, so I try not to have anything that's too concrete. But yeah, it's hard. Like, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of things to consider for sure.
And I think we discussed it also. It was about having that creative mind, because creative people tend to think differently, they act differently, and they just execute life completely different.
Yeah, it's a hamster on a wheel situation for me, for sure. Yeah, I'm constantly trying to find ways to just slow the hamster down a little bit. Absolutely.
So we were talking about, you know, small business, and of course here, you know, Mount Forest, Harrison, all our listening area, they have. That's what we live off of is our small business, right? Yeah. So what advice do you have for our small businesses? I was looking over your blogs and, you know, read quite a few of them actually. And actually, I recommend that people should go check those out.
Well, thank you.
Where can they find that actually?
Oh, yeah, you can find them at dylanbartlett.com, or you can just straight up Google my name if you want, and you'll find everything there is to find about me on the internet. Absolutely, yeah.
A nice, pretty picture comes up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, back to that advice for our business owners. I found you had 5 advice tips, and what were those?
And to be honest with you, like from an advice tips point of view, like that's where the kind of where the book came to be, right? I mean, at the end of the day, for me, I just got kind of sick of like reading a lot of information on the internet about, oh yeah, if you wake up in the morning and you have a positive attitude, then you can achieve your dreams. It's like, well, no, I mean, you're going to get kicked every day. People are going to get down on you, and you got to take the hits and wake up, rinse, repeat, just, grind it out and do it again. Right. Yeah. So generally speaking, I try to not like let my feelings get hurt. Absolutely. It can be hard. I think when you really are passionate about your own business, you start to really care about stuff, and, everything starts to feel like a personal attack, so you got to not take things personally. Ask for help. Absolutely. I have a really good support group. I've got a few mentors and a few friends and family members, and certainly coworkers too, that, if I'm struggling with something, I ask. So definitely ask for help. Have a plan. Sit down. I sit down probably once a week, rethink what my plan is going to be for the future. And I'm talking I'm rethinking our 3 to 5 year plan almost on a weekly basis, just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. So have a plan. When you have that plan, trust in your plan, and just keep working it, and keep staying on that same course, that same path that you're on. Believe in what you're doing. And then, the final thing for me, and I think it's a huge one, and I think this is an area where a lot of local business owners don't give themselves enough credit for, and you absolutely should. Pat yourself on the back. Do some good. Get out there, get involved in the community, and support as many things as you can. And I think that that's a good business model. I think that helps grow your business a lot. Absolutely.
Well, Dylan, thank you so much. We need to just take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Dylan Bartlett on 88.7 The River.